one of the largest Black landowners in the state of Tennessee, largest advertiser in the Nashville airport. Nothing you do is ever small scale. Everything is big.
No, we're the largest Grand Champagne vineyard owner in the city of Cognac, France.
Yeah.
I think we're the only Americans that actually they've approved land purchased there.
And this is within, the last 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing small about what you do.
You know, life would be a lot easier if I thought smaller. No, seriously. People, I used to always tell people, dream bigger, fail harder. And I still do, but I do recognize that the level of it is much more challenging. If you just think small, you can kind of go through life just like bebopping around and just enjoying the basics of being alive and the level of joy that comes with that. And I enjoy what I do so much. But I think that what I maneuver through on any daily basis would take most people out. So it's a different kind of joy.
Yeah, a different kind of joy. But this is, I mean, from childhood to your early career in PR to your first investments, every step that you've made, I mean, has been sheer grit and determination.
Yeah. I think I was 18 and I had like 10 employees. It was absurd.
And that was with the PR.
That was with the PR firm. It's just I've always been that way and figuring it out as I go. I've always been building the plane as it was flying. It's just how I'm wired. Yeah. But I think you find that most of Americans' Titans were building the plane as it was flying.
Yeah. I think that's what scares most people, though.
As it should.
Yeah.
Like everybody's not built for this.
Yeah.
When I think about my day, I can't really think of very many more people that could do what I do. Not because they aren't extraordinary, but the amount of fortitude it takes to do what I do is different. It's a different level. There's levels to this.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in that 9 to 10 level.
You're definitely in a 9 to 10 level because what started off as a story that was supposed to become a book.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years has become a $2 billion business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was bigger than a book.
It was bigger than a book. It was bigger. Forbes has it at 1. Forbes has it at 1.1. But it is different when people are coming for you and trying to convince you to sell.
They asked you to sell for $2 billion.
Yeah.
I think so that lets you know what it's been valued at. Yeah, what people see in the marketplace. Yeah. I mean, you get into the whiskey spirits business really by trusting your gut.
Yes.
Because this story that led you was really fueled by grief when you lost your niece, Brittany. Mm-hmm. And you threw yourself into this story of Uncle Nearest after finding it, in Singapore, and it falls in your lap. But then it takes you on this journey to go visit, to immerse yourself, to uncover the story. Yeah. And then you say, I'm gonna make whiskey.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that when you look at Love and Whiskey, I mean, it's New York Times bestseller 12 times over, right? And you can look at that and say, and I think we just won the NAACP award for it. I can look at it and say the book is a success. 100,000 copies sold, whatever you want. However, the book is something that people are going to enjoy greatly today. It is a great book. Yeah. I enjoyed reading it myself for the audio. You have a great book when you yourself enjoy reading it.
Well written, phenomenal book.
For the audio. But the reality is there'll be thousands more books that come out this year. When it's made into a film, that film will drop and another film will drop the same day and the next day and the day after that and the day after that. And so then the question becomes, the story of Nearest Green was told so openly at Jack Daniel Distillery until 1978. And then the story disappeared until I brought it forth again for the masses. And so you have to look at it and say, if the story could disappear once, it can disappear again. And as the keeper of the story for this generation, if you will, I really truly look at it as my responsibility to pass this to the next generation in a way that it cannot be erased. Yeah. And that couldn't be done with a book or a movie. And we know this. I use this as a point almost everywhere I go, is usually if on the Love and Whiskey tour, there might be 350, 400 people in the room. and I will ask, how many of you saw Hidden Figures? Every hand will go up. Every single head, which is amazing, by the way. Every hand will go up, and I will ask them, what are the names of the women that Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, and Taraji P. Henson played? And most can't name a single one. And you'll usually have one or two people in there that will say, Catherine Watts, like, they'll kind of fumble. But that's a movie that every single person in that room watched. And they can't identify. We all left that movie theater knowing the same three women we knew before we walked in there.
Yeah.
And so when you look at something like this story, the reality is with entertainment, the story is going to be told, but people are going to know the actors when they leave out of there.
Mm-hmm. It's so much deeper than, this story extends generations. Because you have Victoria Edie Butler, who is the great-great-granddaughter of Nearest Green, who is now the master blender for Uncle Nearest, award-winning blender for the business. And I want you to really talk about why it is so important to tell this story. Because many people, when they kind of get ear in wind of it, they hear, oh, Jack Daniels had a slave, and his slave created the whiskey recipe, and they run with that story. But that is not the true story.
No, it's not the true story. Number one, there were 14 distilleries and 16 distilleries in a 4-mile radius. They were all using the same recipe. And the recipe changed per season. How much corn you were using, how much corn malt, how much rye, how much barley, it literally changed per season.
Yeah.
And so it's not the recipe that matters. What matters is the process that Nearest Green taught Jack, the process he utilized himself, which is taking traditional bourbon distillate, running it through sugar maple charcoal before it goes into the barrel to remove impurities. That was what distinguished his whiskey, the whiskey coming out of distillery number 7. That's what distinguished that whiskey from everywhere else. And that came in with the West Africans. And it's something that Jack and his family made sure to properly credit. And the reason why I think it's so important is because at that time, because we couldn't patent, because we couldn't copyright anything, there was no such thing as IP for African Americans or Africans at that time. And even once we were African Americans, we couldn't do any of that stuff. And so much of our ingenuity, so much of our inventions, we'll never know what we actually created.
Absolutely.
So anytime we get a chance to prove that we were an integral part in the creation of something, it's important for us to spotlight that, because the more we see it, the more we understand that Africans coming to this country, so many, including us, have a misperception. Because if you look on the census, it says we were illiterate, right? They can't read. They can't write. Nearest could not read. He couldn't write. His children couldn't read, couldn't write. His grandchildren. And so you look at that and people go, oh, man, it's an illiterate family. No, they're a family that spoke African. Whatever their language was in Africa is what they spoke. So that doesn't mean they couldn't read or write. That means they couldn't read or write English.
Yeah.
And that reframing is important for us to understand we didn't come from illiterate people.
Absolutely.
We came from highly intelligent people. But because we weren't allowed to be taught the language of the country we went into, so you and I both, we were talking about before, I'm so impressed with how well read you are and how you're able to remember things. You're remembering quotes that I said that I don't remember ever saying.
Yeah.
And all I can say is it sounds like me, right? But
it's you, girl.
And it's me. But you are so incredibly intelligent. But if I were to drop you in the middle of a village in Thailand, and they refuse to teach you their language, guess what? All of this intelligence that you have in your mind, you can't express to them. You can only express it to people that speak your language.
Yeah.
And so that reframing, I think, is important for us as a group of people to understand we always came from excellence. The only thing we didn't know how to do was speak English.
Yeah. Hey, Vaugh family, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, make sure to check out our full interview on our channel at Vaugh Empowers Talks. We don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential leaders and change makers. Don't forget to like, to comment, and be sure to subscribe for more inspiring conversations. See you next time.